European Union, and we will be able to complete everything before 2020 and 30. And rest assured that Ukraine is very capable to deliver in a fast way. So if Commission is ready, we can do it even faster. Well, I think we are quite experienced in balancing the different dialogues between member states to get to necessary political decisions that we need. We do not think that Hungarian presidency could be an obstacle to that. In fact, we have been doing sort of a planning of our enlargement activity throughout the Hungarian presidency, and I don't think it will be a case. At the same time, we have a wide range of other issues on the table, like military support, sanctions, financial support to Ukraine, so we will be working on the whole range of it, and we're totally confident that 26 EU member states are behind our back on that.
And how do you think you can convince Hungary?
Well, first and foremost, this day is not about Hungary. This is a day about Ukraine, about Ukrainian historical moment, and I think all 27 EU member states, including Hungary, have been working hard to make this day happen today, although there were some obstacles on the way, and we have to learn to build our relations, and this is what we are investing heavily right now in our bilateral dialogue with Hungary.
Are you going to do something special to celebrate this day?
Yes, all Ukraine is celebrating. We have multiple flash mobs, media campaigns, people gathering together. Unfortunately, due to the war raging in Ukraine, we cannot really embrace the full energy of this event, but many people are present here in Luxembourg, but also in Brussels, but also all 4 million of Ukrainians which are currently unable to be in Ukraine, who are in European Union, will definitely celebrate this day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ça va durer longtemps? Une minute, 2 minutes? Et chaque fois tu appuies sur cette image, ça se reprend depuis le début ou non? Mais chaque fois que tu choisis cette image, ça commence depuis le début, donc c'est pas ça. Pas comme ça, non. Avant. Ça va durer longtemps? Une minute, 2 minutes? Et chaque fois tu appuies sur cette image, ça se reprend depuis le début ou non? Mais chaque fois que tu choisis cette image, ça commence depuis le début, donc c'est pas ça. Pas comme ça, non. Avant. Ça va durer longtemps? Une minute, 2 minutes? Et chaque fois que tu appuies sur cette image, ça se reprend depuis le début ou non? Mais chaque fois que tu choisis cette image, ça commence depuis le début, donc c'est pas ça. Pas comme ça, non. Avant. tu vas pris sur cette démarche, ça se reprend depuis le début ou non? Mais chaque fois que tu choisis cette image, ça commence depuis le début, non, c'est pas ça. Pas comme ça, non. Avant. Ça va durer longtemps. 1 minute, 2 minutes. Et chaque fois que tu appuies sur cette image, ça se reprend depuis le début ou non? Mais chaque fois que tu choisis cette image, ça commence depuis le début, non, c'est pas ça. Pas comme ça, non. Avant. Ça va durer longtemps. 1 minute, 2 minutes. Et chaque fois que tu appuies sur cette image, ça se reprend depuis le début ou non? Mais chaque fois que tu choisis cette image, ça commence depuis le début, non, c'est pas ça. Pas comme ça, non. Avant. Ça va durer longtemps. 1 minute, 2 minutes. Et chaque fois que tu appuies sur cette image, ça se reprend depuis le début ou non? Mais chaque fois que tu choisis cette image, ça commence depuis le début, non, c'est pas ça. Pas comme ça, non. Avant. Ça va durer longtemps. 1 minute, 2 minutes. Et chaque fois que tu appuies sur cette image, ça se reprend depuis le début ou non? Mais chaque fois que tu choisis cette image, ça commence depuis le début, non, c'est pas ça. Pas comme ça, non. Avant. Ça va durer longtemps. 1 minute, 2 minutes. Et chaque fois que Cette image, ça se reprend depuis le début ou non? Mais chaque fois que tu choisis cette image, ça commence depuis le début. Non, c'est pas ça. Pas comme ça, non. Ah, voilà. Ça va durer longtemps. 1 minute, 2 minutes. Et chaque fois que tu appuies sur cette image, ça se reprend depuis le début ou non? Mais chaque fois que tu choisis cette image, ça commence depuis le début. Non, c'est pas ça. Pas comme ça, non. Ah, voilà. Ça va durer longtemps. 1 minute, 2 minutes. Et chaque fois que tu appuies sur cette image, ça se reprend depuis le début ou non? Mais chaque fois que tu choisis cette image, ça commence depuis le début. Non, c'est pas ça. Pas comme ça, non. Ah, voilà. Ça va durer longtemps. 1 minute, 2 minutes. Et chaque fois que tu appuies sur cette image, ça se reprend depuis le début ou non? Mais chaque fois que tu choisis cette image, ça commence depuis le début. Non, c'est pas ça. Pas comme ça, non. Ah, voilà. Ça va durer longtemps. 1 minute, 2 minutes. Et chaque fois que tu appuies sur cette image, ça se reprend depuis le début ou non? Mais chaque fois que tu choisis cette image, ça commence depuis le début. Non, c'est pas ça. Pas comme ça, non. Ah, voilà. Ça va durer longtemps. 1 minute, 2 minutes. Et chaque fois que tu appuies sur Cette image, ça se reprend depuis le début ou non? Mais chaque fois que tu choisis cette image, ça commence depuis le début. Non, c'est pas ça. Pas comme ça, non. Avant. Ça va durer longtemps. 1 minute, 2 minutes. Et chaque fois que tu appuies sur cette image, ça se reprend depuis le début ou non? Mais chaque fois que tu choisis cette image, ça commence depuis le début. Non, c'est pas ça. Pas comme ça, non. Avant. Ça va durer longtemps. 1 minute, 2 minutes. Et chaque fois que tu appuies sur cette image, ça se reprend depuis le début ou non? Mais chaque fois que tu choisis cette image, ça commence depuis le début. Non, c'est pas ça. Pas comme ça, non. Avant. Ça va durer longtemps. 1 minute, 2 minutes. Et chaque fois que tu appuies sur cette image, ça se reprend depuis le début ou non? Mais chaque fois que tu choisis cette image, ça commence depuis le début. Non, c'est pas ça. Pas comme ça, non. Avant. Ça va durer longtemps. 1 minute, 2 minutes. Et chaque fois que tu appuies sur cette image, ça se reprend depuis le début ou non? Mais chaque fois que tu choisis cette image, ça commence depuis le début. Non, c'est pas ça. Pas comme ça, non. Avant. Ça va durer longtemps. 1 minute, 2 minutes. Et chaque fois que tu appuies sur Cette démarche, ça se reprend depuis le début ou non? Mais chaque fois que tu choisis cette image, ça commence depuis le début, donc c'est pas ça. Pas comme ça, non. Avant. Ça va durer longtemps. 1 minute, 2 minutes. Et chaque fois que tu appuies sur cette image, ça se reprend depuis le début ou non? Mais chaque fois que tu choisis cette image, ça commence depuis le début, donc c'est pas ça. Pas comme ça, non. Avant. Ça va durer longtemps. 1 minute, 2 minutes. Et chaque fois que tu appuies sur cette image, ça se reprend depuis le début ou non? Mais chaque fois que tu choisis cette image, ça commence depuis le début, donc c'est pas ça. Pas comme ça, non. Avant. Ça va durer longtemps. 1 minute, 2 minutes. Et chaque fois que tu appuies sur cette image, ça se reprend depuis le début ou...
Bonjour, comme vous le savez, dans quelques instants, on va ouvrir 2 conférences intergouvernementales pour ouvrir donc officiellement l'accession de l'Ukraine et de la Moldavie, l'intégration à l'Union européenne. C'est un jour historique. Ce 25 juin entrera dans l'histoire de l'Union européenne et je suis très heureuse qu'il ait pu se produire sous présidence belge. C'est le résultat d'un long travail qui a été mené grâce à tous ceux qui ont participé à cette présidence belge et que je félicite au passage, grâce aussi à l'Ukraine qui, malgré la guerre, malgré la situation extrêmement difficile, a décidé de poursuivre le travail de réformes intenses alors qu'ils sont sous les bombes, alors que leur vie est menacée. Et je tiens donc vraiment à dire combien je suis heureuse de marquer cette étape aujourd'hui. Je pense que ça envoie aussi un signal clair à Vladimir Poutine qui a essayé d'affaiblir l'Ukraine, de confisquer son avenir, de choisir à la place des Ukrainiens leur futur, qu'au contraire, en fait, ils ne font que se rapprocher plus plus près encore de l'Union européenne et d'avancer donc vers cet avenir avec nous, avec les 27 qui seront peut-être demain 33 ou 35. Et donc on va ouvrir ces 2 cadres de négociation avec la Moldavie, avec l'Ukraine, qui ont donc tous les 2 fourni un travail intense au niveau législatif, au niveau des réformes, au niveau de l'intégration des directives européennes. Je pense que ça mérite vraiment d'être souligné. Il y a encore du travail, évidemment. On va seulement commencer à ouvrir les chapitres. Ici, c'est le cadre général qui va s'ouvrir dans quelques instants. Mais ce qui est important, c'est de se réjouir de parvenir à ouvrir ce cadre maintenant dans notre présidence et après de nombreux mois de travail intense. Voilà, je ne vais pas rentrer dans les détails plus maintenant parce que on va ouvrir tout de suite cette conférence et on reviendra évidemment avec une conférence de presse complète avec l'Ukraine, avec la Moldavie. Voilà.
Est-ce que vous avez les soucis qu'avec Varhelyi qui va remplacer pour la présidence du Conseil, que peut-être ça va bloquer le progrès pour l'Ukraine après?
En tout cas, le premier pas historique, il est franchi. Aujourd'hui, nous ouvrons le cadre et donc il va se poursuivre, ce cadre, il va continuer à s'ouvrir. Les négociations ne font que commencer. On sait que le chemin sera encore long et l'Ukraine et la Moldavie vont continuer leur travail de réforme. On a eu la chance déjà d'avoir du suivi. Plusieurs fois, on s'est vu. Ils ont parlé des interférences, des ingérences de la Russie. Elle aussi, elle ne risque pas de s'arrêter malheureusement. Et donc, plus que jamais, on sera à leur côté pour continuer le travail. Je reviens tout à l'heure.
Merci.
honorable ministers, state secretaries, ambassadors, partners, colleagues, friends. 2 years, 3 months and 29 days ago, President Volodymyr Zelensky signed Ukraine's application for membership in the European Union. 2 years and 3 days ago, the European Council granted Ukraine candidate status for EU membership. Today, we officially begin negotiations for Ukraine's accession to the European Union. A historic day, a historic moment for Ukraine and Europe. For our nation, the European Union signifies much more than a physical space. It represents value and hope, values and hope. It is a symbol. Thousands of the best sons and daughters of Ukraine have given their lives for an independent European Ukraine. I bow my head in memory of the fallen Ukrainian heroes. I bow my head in gratitude to the Ukrainian military for making this day possible, for enabling Ukraine to start this negotiation process that will ultimately lead to our membership in the European Union. We will do everything within our power to achieve this. We fully understand that there is still much work ahead of us on the path to accession. We are ready for it. We have demonstrated that we can move swiftly and achieve the impossible. Today's event clearly shows this. Together with you today is our negotiating team. In close cooperation, we have prepared our negotiating position, which will be presented here today. And we are confident it will be positively received by our European colleagues. Ukraine's future membership is the best answer to Europe's current challenges and a unique opportunity to strengthen the European Union. We believe that aiding Ukraine in defeating the Russian aggressor and overcoming the challenges of post-war reconstruction could become Europe's greatest achievement in decades. We sincerely believe that a strong Ukraine is not possible outside the EU, just as a strong EU is not possible without Ukraine. Dear friends, today marks the beginning of a new chapter in the relationship between Ukraine and the European Union. We want to extend our big gratitude to all of you for your work. We want to say thank you to the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, the President of the European Council, Charles Michel, the President of the European Parliament, Roberta Metsola, and the leaders of all EU member states for their unwavering support and personal historic contributions. Today, we celebrate an important victory on Ukraine's path to European integration. And at the same time, the start of negotiations is a significant step towards our shared great victory. Together we will prevail. Together we will build a safe, prosperous and strong Europe from Lisbon to Lugansk. Slava Ukraini!
Thank you very much, Prime Minister Shmyhal. Thank you for the power of your words. I think that your words underlines how momentous today's conference is. We are making European history together. So thank you very much for that. Thank you. See you soon in Kiev or in Brussels. Okay. We can now proceed to the more formal part of the conference, and in particular the presentation of our respective position. On the EU side, I will start by providing the opening statement on behalf of the EU. And I will then give the floor to Commissioner Varhelyi for his opening remarks. So on behalf of the European Union, I'm delighted to welcome here today the distinguished representative of Ukraine to the opening of the accession negotiations of your country with the European Union. This is, as we said already, a historic moment for us all, I think, and marks a milestone in our relationship. We recall that the European Council of June 2022 recognized your European perspective, stated that the future of Ukraine and its citizens lies within the European Union, and decided to grant you a candidate status. Already then, Ukraine was a close partner of the European Union, and since 2009 already, Ukraine has been part of the Eastern Partnership. The association agreement, which also includes the far-reaching, deep and comprehensive free trade area, entered into force in 2017 and was provisionally applied since 2014. It is the basis for our extensive cooperation in a broad range of areas. Ukraine continues to implement its obligation under the association agreement, and our political and economic dialogue has been developing, notably within the association agreement bodies. The EU reiterates its resolute condemnation of Russia's unjustified and unprovoked war of aggression against Ukraine and salutes the resilience of the Ukrainian people. The EU recalls its unwavering support for Ukraine's independence, sovereignty and territorial integrity within the internationally recognized border, and its inherent rights of self-defense against Russia's war of aggression. The EU will continue to support Ukraine and its people against Russia's ongoing war for as long as it takes and as intensively as needed. The EU remains committed to contribute together with partners to security commitment with Ukraine. The future for Ukraine is for the Ukrainians to decide. The EU will continue to support the right of the Ukrainian people to choose their own destiny. Building on the Commission's enlargement package of 8 November 2023 and the Council conclusions on enlargement of 12 December 2023, the European Council decided in its conclusions of 14 and 15 December 2023 to open accession negotiations with Ukraine. This decision of the European Council is an important step in Ukraine's relations with the EU. Moreover, it is a clear demonstration of the EU's unequivocal support to the EU membership perspective of Ukraine. Your country is part of Europe, European history, heritage and culture. We look forward to future intensifying our already well-established lies. The enlargement process is a geostrategic investment in peace, security, stability and prosperity. It is a driver for improving the economic and social conditions of our citizens, reducing disparities between countries, and must foster the values on which the Union is founded. Looking ahead to the prospect of a further enlarged Union, both future Member States and the EU need to be ready at the time of accession. Work on both tracks should advance in parallel. As illustrated by today's conference, the Union remains firmly committed to this process. We commend Ukraine's clear determination to advance on the EU reform agenda, notably in the current challenging context created by Russia's war of aggression, and expect continued political commitment to carry on necessary reforms thoroughly and vigorously. I'm sorry, but this is very long, but I need to should I read everything?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
okay, let's continue. The benefits for both sides of our close relations are evident. The EU is your largest trading partner, with obvious benefits for business and foreign investment, for your citizens as well. Travel to the EU has become easier since visa liberalisation entered into force in 2017. The EU has been providing financial and technical support under various financial instruments and will continue to do so. Since the beginning of Russia's war of aggression against your country, the EU has so far provided around 100 billion euro in assistance. The Ukraine facility has already provided 6 billion euro and will in total make available up to 50 billion euro for 2024-2027. To support the recovery, reconstruction and modernisation of the country in line with Ukraine's EU accession path, Ukraine is expected to implement the Ukraine plan, which is complementary to the EU accession process and provides a framework for reforms and investments. The EU is the biggest provider of assistance to Ukraine. On top of the financial and military support, as a response to Russia's aggression, the EU has also put in place unprecedented sanctions against Russia and has been actively involved in efforts to ensure accountability. Comprehensive support is provided through the EU military assistance mission and the civilian European advisory mission to Ukraine. Ukraine's participation in a large number of EU programmes, including Horizon Europe, Euratom research and training programme, Digital Europe, Fiscalis Customs, Creative Europe, EU for Health, Life Single Market Programme, Union Civil Protection Mechanism and Connecting Europe Facility, organisations and individuals from freedom from Ukraine can also benefit from certain actions of the Erasmus Plus and European Solidarity Corps programme. Ukraine is also participating in several interregional programmes and is a member of the EU macro-regional strategy for the Danube region. In addition to this, emphasis is put on further deepening of the EU's sectoral cooperation with Ukraine and its gradual integration in the EU internal market whilst safeguarding its integrity on the basis of implementation of the EU-Ukraine Association Agreement, including the deep and comprehensive free trade area. Our negotiations are based on Article 49 of the Treaty of the European Union and take account of all relevant Council and European Council conclusions, in particular those of March 2024, December 2023, June 2022, and those of March 2020, endorsing the revised enlargement methodology, the renewed consensus on enlargement agreed by the December 2006 European Council, and the conclusions of the 1993 European Council in Copenhagen. I hope you follow me. Yeah. The Council remains firmly committed to taking the enlargement process forward on the basis of agreed principles and conclusions which integrate the revised methodology so that the accession process is more predictable, more credible, more dynamic and subject to stronger political steering. In line with the previous Council conclusions and in the framework of the Copenhagen political criteria, the Council reaffirms the need for fair and rigorous conditionality, the principle of own merits and reversibility. The Council stresses the importance of ensuring that the EU can maintain and deepen its own development, including its capacity to integrate new members. The impact of enlargement on the main policy areas of the EU will be assessed along the process of accession negotiations. The EU expects Ukraine to continue to take ownership and demonstrate the credibility of their commitment and political will through the implementation of the necessary reforms and tangible progress on the fundamentals. The active participation of civil society in the reform process remains important to achieving successful long-term implementation. In line with the European Council conclusions of 15 December 2023 and of 21 and 22 last March, the Council approved a general negotiating framework, taking into account the aforementioned conclusions as well as other relevant Council conclusions, the renewed consensus on enlargement and established practice. The negotiating framework which we present to you today takes account of this experience of the past enlargements and ongoing accession negotiations as well as the evolving EU acquis, and duly reflects Ukraine's own merits and specific characteristics. The negotiations are aimed at Ukraine integrally adopting the EU acquis and ensuring its full implementation and enforcement. It incorporates the revised enlargement methodology, which provides for an even stronger focus on the fundamental reforms in the accession negotiations. Ukraine will need, therefore, to fully embrace and continue to implement reforms in the area of rule of law and fundamental rights, the strengthening of democratic institutions and public administration reform, as well as economic criteria. Particular attention should be given to judicial reform, the fight against corruption, as well as the protection and non-discriminatory treatment of persons belonging to national minorities. To ensure the irreversibility of progress in these areas and its full and effective implementation, progress will continue to be closely monitored by the Commission, which will report regularly on it to the Council. Furthermore, safeguarding internal security requires effective law enforcement cooperation with Member States' authorities. Given the crucial importance throughout the process of the underlying reforms, progress on the fundamentals cluster will determine the overall pace of the negotiations. This will allow sufficient time to establish the necessary legislation, institutions and solid track records of implementation before the negotiations are closed. Screening reports to be prepared by the Commission will provide substantial guidance, including on the tasks to be addressed in the roadmaps to be adopted by the authorities of Ukraine. The EU acquis includes inter alia the objectives and principles on which the Union is founded, as set out in the Treaty on European Union. As a future Member State, we expect you to adhere to these values listed in Article 2 in the Treaty on European Union, namely the respect for human dignity, freedom, democracy, equality, the rule of law and respect for human rights, including the rights of persons belonging to minorities. Furthermore, EU accession implies the timely and effective implementation of the entire body of EU law or EU acquis as it stands at the time of accession. Under the revised enlargement methodology, the development of sufficient administrative and judicial capacity as part of the fundamentals cluster is key and in fulfilling all obligations stemming from memberships. Good neighbourly relations with EU member states and other enlargement partners remain also essential. We welcome Ukraine's strategic commitment to its EU part and its high alignment with the EU common foreign and security policy positions and restrictive measures. We encourage Ukraine to continue this positive trend towards full alignment in line with respect for the principles of sovereignty and territorial integrity, including for member states. CFSP alignment is a key aspect of the EU integration process and a strong expression of a partner's strategic choice and place in a community of values. Let us also recall the parallel to the accession negotiations. The Union and Ukraine will continue their civil society dialogue and cultural cooperation, with the aim of bringing people closer together and ensuring the support of citizens for the accession process. We expect Ukraine to continue to strategically communicate the benefits and obligations of the accession process and of EU membership to its public, including addressing disinformation in accordance with its pro-European strategic choice. It will remain up to the Member States to decide whether the conditions are right for the conclusion of the negotiations, bearing in mind developments in the EU acquis since the date of the opening of negotiations and Ukraine's readiness for membership. The accession negotiations we open today will be rigorous and demanding. With determination and commitment, we are confident in your capacity to bring it to a successful conclusion. We will support you in your efforts and we look forward to welcoming you as a fully fledged member of the European Union. And now, let me give the floor to Commissioner Varhelyi, who will also provide remarks, maybe shortly than mine. Commissioner Varhelyi, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Dear Ministers, dear Deputy Prime Minister, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the European Commission, I would like to congratulate you. I would like to congratulate also your team and also the people of Ukraine, because the achievement that we see today, it is thanks to the dedicated work of you, Olga, your team, but also the people of Ukraine, who continue to show immense courage in defending their own country. I also want to congratulate the Belgian presidency for the tireless efforts making this intergovernmental conference happen today. I just want to recall that Ukraine applied to membership for EU membership only 5 days after the beginning of the Russian aggression. And it shows the significance that the membership perspective has for Ukraine, but also for other candidate countries. From the EU's perspective, enlargement is and remains a geostrategic investment in the long-term peace, security, stability and prosperity for the whole of our continent. Despite challenging times, Ukraine has made substantial progress on reforms. I should recall that Ukraine was granted a candidate country status in 2022 as a recognition of the EU integration-related reforms made over many years since the Revolution of Dignity. I'm pleased that recent major decisions on Ukraine's accession have created further reform dynamic, with strong support from civil society and the wider population. Ukraine has fulfilled the steps to formally open accession negotiations. The reform progress needs to be substantiated over a longer period. I encourage Ukraine to continue its efforts to achieve full compliance with all membership criteria. The negotiating framework presented provides a sound basis and a wide-ranging set of tools for the accession negotiations. It incorporates the revised enlargement methodology, which puts an ever stronger emphasis on the fundamentals, clusters and reforms. The Commission is ready to start the bilateral screening exercise in the coming weeks, and this should benefit from the robust preparatory work already undertaken with your administration. We are ready to support Ukraine to prepare for assuming its obligations as member state of the European Union throughout the negotiations. The accession negotiations take hard work and leadership. Ukraine has already taken important steps in structuring the work of its government and its processes. Progress on the accession track implies a substantiated commitment and robust coordination among all institutions and your entire administration. Preparations for membership will inject change to major parts of the society, the economy, and the entirety of your country. The transformative power of enlargement will take shape actually throughout the negotiating process rather than on the day of accession itself. I count on you to ensure an inclusive approach all along the process, working with the stakeholders, the parliamentary opposition, the local authorities, as well as the civil society, including the representatives of national minorities. We strongly encourage Ukraine to ensure the irreversibility of the progress in these areas and its full and effective implementation. Progress will continue to be closely monitored by the Commission, which we will report regularly to the Council. Engaging bilaterally with Member States on issues of special concern will remain important. We also strongly encourage Ukraine to ensure the space for independent media, as well as respect for fundamental freedoms throughout the accession process. It will also be crucial to communicate regularly to the wider public the benefits and the opportunities the accession process creates for all citizens in as well as on EU support. Public awareness that negotiations process will take some time and a lot of effort is important in maintaining the popular support on the accession process over time. The Commission will continue to accompany, support and advise Ukraine in all necessary ways, including through financial and expert assistance. The Commission's role is to make sure that the process abides by European principles and European standards. Our objective is to make sure that Ukraine will be well prepared when it joins. With the €50 billion Ukraine facility, the EU has scaled up our support to Ukraine. The new facility includes funding for the state budget, technical assistance and investment support instruments. It will support Ukraine's economy and its reform agenda envisaged in the Ukraine plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Now the floor goes to the Ukraine delegation and in particular Deputy Prime Minister Stefanishyna. Deputy Prime Minister, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, dear Minister Lahbib, Commissioner Varhelyi, Ministers, our delegation of Ukraine. Basically, we're represented here with those faces who are behind those transformations you were mentioning in your statements, and I'm happy that we have a representation both from the Parliament, from the President's office, but widely representing the government of Ukraine. So I will start with mentioning the key elements of our negotiating position and the opening statement, which will be formally transferred also to you. But before that, I just want to mention that every element of our position, which will be mentioned today, has been accomplished together with you and not comes as nothing new. So, the Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine, the Government of Ukraine welcomes the decision of the European Council on December 14, 2023 to initiate the negotiations regarding Ukraine's accession to the European Union. The strong support from the Council and the European Parliament, along with the continuous efforts made by the European Commission to achieve this decision, mark the beginning of a new phase in the relationship between Ukraine and the European Union. Despite Russian full-scale war against Ukraine, which is still raging on. When history placed Ukraine before the choice of their development, The people consistently opted for European integration. This was evident in 2013 and 14, when millions of Ukrainians took to Maidan Independence Square to defend the opportunity for European integration, the signing of the association agreement. It was reaffirmed in 2022, when just 5 days after Russian full-scale invasion, President of Ukraine applied for Ukraine's membership to the European Union, thereby confirming that Ukraine's defense is not only a fight for the existence of the state, but also for European future and the values of freedom upheld by EU. Now Ukrainian people show a record high support for European future in their country, with more than 80% in favor. The decision of Ukraine to seek for EU membership stems from the unwavering commitment of its people to join the long-standing European endeavour to establish a continent defined by peace, justice, freedom, solidarity and security. Like existing EU member states, Ukraine is dedicated to fostering a society rooted in pluralism, tolerance, solidarity, non-discrimination, the rule of law, and strengthening democratic institutions to ensure that these values are perceived and promoted. At this time, Ukraine is already significantly integrated into European economic systems. It aspires to fully embrace the role within the European Union, adhering to the market economy principles, social justice, and developing its own capacities to become a prepared and comprehensive member of the European economy upon its accession. Ukraine's accession to the European Union will significantly contribute to the regional stability, will serve as a powerful signal to other countries of Eastern Europe and the Western European countries, encouraging them to persist and surmounting their internal and external challenges to make this dream possible. Ukraine's progress towards EU integration is a clear example of a transformative power of the European Union and reinforcing European Union role in promoting stability, prosperity and democratic governance in the region and globally. Ukraine has already demonstrated a firm commitment to European integration since 2014 through the implementation of the EU-Ukraine Association Agreement, which includes a deep and comprehensive free trade area. This agreement already encompasses an unprecedented amount of EU acquis, with Ukraine having progressively aligned itself with the substantial elements of EU policies across many areas. This underscores Ukraine's readiness to potentially contribute positively to the European Union, aligning with the Union's goals and values while also benefiting from the transformative impact of the integration process. Many steps have been taken since the beginning of the full-scale aggression, and it is important that we do not forget that it was also possible through a comprehensive engagement Ukraine and European Union had over the years. Just in response to the Russian full-scale military aggression against Ukraine on 24th of February 2022, which led to millions of Ukrainians fleeing the war and seeking safety, protection and compassion in EU countries, the EU demonstrated a significant act of solidarity by activating the Temporary Protection Directive on March 4, 2022. It was a decision which also became possible because of the effective implementation and functioning of visa-free travel between Ukraine and European Union since 2017. Since the onset of the Russian war of aggression, the European Union and its member states has also become a financial background for Ukraine's stability and Ukrainian resilience. This substantial amount of financial contributions through multiple instruments EU has mobilized over the last 2 years is a demonstration of a strong EU commitment to Ukraine's sovereignty and stability, illustrating the depths of solidarity and support that the EU has extended to Ukraine during a very, very critical period of our existence. We also have seen the sunset of EU security and defence policy, and under the European Peace Facility, the European Union has mobilized significant resources to support Ukraine's defence capabilities in response of the ongoing war. The EU mission has been started, and many of Ukrainian officers have been trained as well. We also enjoy a high benefit of the EU solidarity lanes, which have been established with as a response to a massive occupation of Russian Federation of the Black Sea and Azov Sea, and immediately enabling our goods to be released through a solidarity lanes. This was also possible because of a significant transformations in reforms in the particular areas of transport and customs conducted by Ukraine before the full-scale war started. The association agreement and its free trade area has had a tremendous impact on Ukrainian sectoral integration into EU, particularly in such fields like energy, digitalization, transport, and of course trade. This partnership has led us to extraordinary results already. By the end of 2021, before the onset of a full-scale war, the EU had already become Ukraine's largest trading partner, amounting for more than 40% of its trade turnover. Following the start of the Russian war of aggression, the EU role evolved into existential partner for Ukraine across nearly all economic sectors. Since the enforcement in 2016, the deep and comprehensive free trade area has significantly boosted bilateral trade. In 2022, the annual trade in goods turnover between Ukraine and EU doubled. This has been very well known and discussed multiple times in our bilateral meeting. Energy sector and transport sector has been vital elements of our cooperation. Let's not forget that Ukraine is strategically located in Eastern Europe with access to the Black Sea. It serves as a critical bridge between Western and Eastern Europe, as we have air raid in Kiev. This unique geopolitical position not only enhances its role as a crossroads of cultures, economies, and political influences, but also positions Ukraine in a significantly contributive position to European project as such. Ukraine's accession to EU will bring numerous benefits in the context of various aspects and will also strengthen the European Union, particularly in the context of increasing global competition. Ukraine's entry into the European Union is poised to bolster the EU status as a global player in the international political and trade arenas. The integration of Ukraine's robust agricultural industry into EU trade policy will enhance the Union's role in ensuring global food security. Additionally, Ukraine's inclusion into EU common security and defense policy, leveraging the combat experience of Ukrainian armed forces, will substantially strengthen the CSDP's capabilities. Thus, for Ukraine, the aim of the accession negotiations is to ensure the fully fledged membership of Ukraine into the European Union. Ukraine confirms its consent to the negotiation framework for Ukraine's accession to EU approved by the Council of the European Union. We expect that the negotiations will run smoothly and in good faith, and its results will be mutually beneficial for both Ukraine and European Union. We also expect that Ukraine's accession to the European Union will protect the vital interests of the citizens of Ukraine. Ukraine would welcome reform of the enlargement methodology aimed to remove excessive procedures while respecting the need for unanimity in key stages of the process. Ukraine is prepared to align its legislation with the EU acquis and to implement it in a scope and timing to be agreed further on the negotiations. We also embrace our reforms, which we managed to accomplish before this day of the first intergovernmental conference, and based on a significant track record of these reforms, embracing further unwavering commitment to them. Ukraine is committed to developing the roadmaps on the rule of law, democratic institutions and public administration reforms. These roadmaps will be based on the guidance from the European Commission and will involve consultations with relevant stakeholders, including, of course, civil society. These roadmaps will outline reform priorities and be continuously monitored and discussed at the Intergovernmental Conference. Ukraine has also continuously and persistently confirmed its determination to ensure good relations with the neighbouring member states, including issues related to protection of national minorities in accordance with its bilateral agreements with the member states, international EU and Council of Europe standards. At this point, we remain sincerely committed to address and on this basis fully implement 11 issues raised by particularly Hungarian side, aimed at further strengthening of the protection of national minorities and continue ongoing bilateral discussion with Hungary in that regard. We remain also committed to implement steps on protection of national minorities' rights agreed within the dialogue and on the basis of the relevant agreements with Hungary in good faith and contribution to future mutual understanding, trust and respect. We expect the same contribution to further mutual understanding, trust and respect from our neighbouring partners as well. As Ukraine negotiates its path to EU accession, it remains acutely aware of the imperative to initiate post-war recovery efforts and address the substantial challenges faced by regions that were under Russian occupation and within the active conflict zones. Many cities and villages in these regions have suffered extensive destruction, necessitating the collaborative effort with the EU and its member states to chart a new course of their development. This approach will be rooted in our shared values and commitment to sustainable environmental practices and in line with the European Union cohesion policy. Just a second. Ukraine is committed to achieving full readiness for accession to the European Union, embracing the principle of individual treatment as a candidate country where progress in European integration process is based on its own achievements, serving as the foundation of the accession process. Accession to EU made by the progress is committed to understanding that we will undergo regular and public scrutiny within the country. The negotiation process will be transparently presented for Ukrainian citizens through an objective information campaigns on European integration. Non-governmental organizations and civil society actors, as well as other stakeholders who have already been massively involved in the European process of Ukraine, will be engaged at every stage of the process. This approach ensures that the European integration is not solely managed by the government. It's embedded into every step Ukrainian nation advances with and fights for. The Ukrainian constitution, meanwhile, reaffirms the European identity of Ukrainian people and irreversibility of Ukraine's European course. We firmly believe that the initiation of accession negotiations today mark a historic milestone of our relationship, but it's only a beginning of the longer way we will go through together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Olha. Dear Deputy Prime Minister, in this slide we can note the opening of the negotiations on the accession of Ukraine to the European Union. I propose that the conference enter into its minutes the general positions of the parties to the conference, annex it to the Union's position in Doc AD 9/24, CONF like conference, UA like Ukraine 2 are the working arrangement of the conference. This is then also noted. And now please turn the cameras off because we are